Imagine stepping into a world where every day is a test of survival. The first week in prison isn't just about adjusting, it's about learning to navigate an unforgiving new reality. What happens in those first 7 days? How do you find your place in a system designed to strip away your freedom? Stay with us as we unravel the gritty truth of the first 7 days behind bars. Day 1. The shock of confinement. Upon arrival, you're still yet to recover from the shock of your sentence. As you think about your life, all of a sudden you hear your name being called by one of the staff. This was German Clark's story, an 18-year-old first-time offender with a 50-year sentence. He recounted that when he heard his name, he stood on the wall just as inmates before him had been instructed to do. At that point, his heart began to race, standing next to two older criminals who were having a conversation about all the prisons they've been to and all the violent acts they participated in and witnessed. The gruesome stories put a significant spike in his blood pressure. Even though he managed to keep a stern face, he was petrified. Next, you'd be asked to take off all your clothes. Then you'd be asked to run your fingers through your hair, open your mouths, and lift your tongues. Squat and cough and raise your arms. It's a normal procedure, and it's known as strip searches. These strip searches are carried out to ensure that no inmates smuggle any contraband into the prison. From there, you proceed to receiving and discharge R&D. Typically, inmates arrive at R&D within 30 minutes of arrival to the prison. Once in R&D, new arrivals' possessions are reviewed to determine what is permitted and what will be disallowed. New inmates also receive a set of prison clothes and are photographed and fingerprinted. The essence of the picture is to have the inmate's photo in the identification card that will be issued by prison staff. In addition to the inmate's photo, the card would also contain other details, including name, height, and inmate number. In a letter written by Jerome Mne, who received a 21-month prison sentence for conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud, he stated, "After you and my mom dropped me off, the guards took me to a small concrete building called R&D, which stands for Receiving and Discharge. They did the same things the FBI and the U.S. Marshals did when I was arrested 11 months ago. They took my fingerprints, and they also took my picture for my prison ID. They took my clothes and my bipolar medication I had in my pocket. This letter is probably going to reach you before you get the box with my clothes and shoes they are sending. Anyhow, they are sending you everything that walked through the gate with me yesterday, except me, so don't be alarmed. Next, you will be shown to your cells and issued with bedding. You may have to share a cell with another inmate. However, prison staff will always endeavor to ensure the two of you are compatible. Some prison facilities only allow inmates to smoke in their cells and not anywhere else inside the prison building. If you're a non-smoker and your cellmate smokes, you can speak to prison staff so they can move you to another cell. At this point, it's almost getting toward night. Prisons all operate on strict timetables. Most of them lock the cell door at around 6 p.m. at night, and it remains shut until 8 a.m. the next day. Once the door is locked, it is almost impossible for you to speak with an officer unless it is an emergency. If that's the case, your cell will have a call button to reach an officer. As you lie on your rack or bed for the first time, you tend to stare at ceiling above with a series of conflicting thoughts running through his mind. How did I end up here? How am I going to get through this? And a host of other questions. The first night will pass very slowly. At that moment, you'd start recalling all the tales of the horror of prison you've heard or seen in movies and TV shows. Most importantly, if you've seen the famous film The Shawshank Redemption, you'd agree that there's violence and assault within prison, and much of what does occur never reaches the press. But the prison staff have your safety in mind. Even the systems in place are to keep you safe. However, if you seek confrontation, you will certainly find one. On the other hand, if you try to avoid it, you will be able to do so in no time. You tend to sleep off, not knowing what the next day has to offer. Day 2, the cold reality sets in. The second day is here. This time around, you will likely be preparing for an induction where you get to know about what events or activities are available on a day-to-day basis, visiting entitlements and the roles of certain staff within the prison, among other things. All new inmates will be required to sit in a conference-like setting and listen to a set of speakers. Each Dressing every part that is crucial to the stay of an inmate throughout their sentence. Of course, the induction process will vary from prison to prison. Some prisons often offer family induction, where they provide family members with the opportunity to understand what the inmate's daily routine might be. In some prisons, the term admissions and orientation AO is often used. Other processes usually talked about during an induction process include how to change your prison kit, get clothes brought in, how to book visits, how to get money sent in canteen, Tim Tay's gym timetables, library, and a host of other activities, IITs, and processes. If you happen to be on an induction group where you are the only new inmate and the rest of the group have already had a previous prison sentence, the presenting officer will likely gloss over most of it, as the audience won't be paying attention anyway. Therefore, if you need any clarification, you should ask the officer. As part of the induction, new inmates will also get to meet with the chaplaincy, the drug team, the medical team, education, probation, and JY Chapey deals with inmates' religious and spiritual well-being. There they will share how they can serve as a source of support to inmates throughout their sentence. As for the drug team, irrespective of whether you have a history of substance abuse or not, it is important to meet with them, otherwise it will be a black mark against your prison records, which could count against you when your time for release on tag or probation is due for consideration. The medical team will give a very quick basic medical check to decide an inmate's capacity to work or get education. Once you're fit to work, counselors will assign a job to you. Prison jobs range from food services, that is those involved in preparing meals, orderlies, those who are responsible for keeping an area clean, maintenance, such as electricians, plumbers, among others. The education departments offer courses to improve your reading and math levels. Depending on the prison, there are also other courses that can be offered by the team. These courses may range from cookery to cleaning, brick laying to creative writing and customer service to business accounting. You'll have to meet a probation office to have an idea about courses and aims you need to achieve whilst in prison to aid your safe and law-abiding return to society. Remember that when released from prison, you may be subject to the monitoring and control of the probation service. As a new inmate, you must attend a gym induction before you are eligible to go to the gym. Even if you are not interested in keeping fit, you still need to complete the gym induction. You need to realize that there's little or no freedom in prison. You can no longer call the shot. In other words, you'll have to adapt to a new way of living, usually strict, rather than let these restrictions defeat him. Chain Weinstein, a former inmate, decided to focus on the one thing he can control: his daily routine. He would wake up at 6 a.m., have breakfast, then return to his cell to clean up. He would also check his emails for messages, and then set out for outdoor recreation, working through pull-ups, dips, push-ups, squats, and lunges. Then he returned for head count. During this period, everyone is expected to be on lockdown. After that, little time is made available for inmates to socialize. Before having lunch, everyone returns to their cell afterward. Then when it's 4 p.m., another head count is conducted. His next activity before retiring to bed would be dinner and laundry. According to Weinstein, the routine helped him remain mentally intact and stay busy while also being productive. In the end, he was able to serve his sentence in the most comfortable way possible. While I understand that prison routine cannot be the same for everyone, Weinstein's routine gives you a clue of what you can expect on a typical day in prison. Let's get to know what awaits you on the third day. Day 3, the weight of isolation. It's the third day, and you've probably not been able to speak with your family. Therefore, you may feel somewhat unsettled by the initial discomfort of confinement, feeling isolated. You're likely to get depressed. You're trying to do everything possible to adapt, but it's not coming. All the feelings you get are strange. Before you know it, your depression will turn into stress, then anger. During the first few days of Jennifer Tunn in prison, she believed that walls were all that existed. They stood unsympathetic to her suffering and closed in a little bit more each day, but she refused to make peace with them. At one point, she thought she would lose her mind from being cut off from the world. It wasn't until she accepted her circumstances, as they were then changed her perspective about them, that the once menacing walls became a place for her, instead of a place holding her hostage. Also, there is nothing more humiliating than telling, or let me say forcing, an adult to do certain things you are told And given what to eat, when to sleep, when to exercise, and when your loved ones can visit you after your morning routine, you just want to speak with your family, but it isn't your phone day, yet you must wait till the next day. Fortunately, the time comes for you to speak with your family, only for the officer to hang up after 15 minutes. Next thing you tell the person on the receiving end of the call, "I have to go." You don't even have a chance to explain how much you miss them and what you go through in the new environment for the rest of the day. You thought about that 15-minute conversation, wishing it was longer. In another instance, it might be a physical visit from your loved ones. You're called into the visiting room and you get greeted with forced smiles from your partner. You might have probably lost some weight, but they remain silent. Your loved ones will begin to think about what to buy for you to eat before they leave. That's the best form of help they can render to you. Your child came with your partner with a lot of questions you have answers to, even though they might not be the truth. When asked when you be home, you didn't hesitate to say you'll be home soon, even when you know that the soon will take longer than your child thought. You even went ahead to promise the innocent child. Now the time for them to leave comes. There are no more smiles. Your partner and child begin to cry, each saying, "I don't want to leave." But there is absolutely nothing you can do. You're overwhelmed knowing that your relationship is at risk. You feel like salvaging the situation, but your hands are tied. It's the worst feeling you have ever experienced. You start considering stopping further visits because they end up being painful. Then you come to terms with the reality you are no longer in control of your life. This feeling gets you frustrated and you just want to escape from it, probably by sleeping, but the noise all night keeps you awake. It becomes worse with a bunkmate who snores, for instance, or makes you uncomfortable, but you don't want to talk, so it doesn't result in conflict. The third night comes, and as you lay in your bed to relax from the mental stress you went through in the day, you begin to hear some inmates yelling and banging at the door. You begin to wonder if they are losing their minds. It scares you, but again, you can't confront them. You can only hope that they'd stop. Suddenly, you get distracted from the happenings. Hunger sets in. Unfortunately, you had dinner already, and there's nothing more to snack on. Therefore, you must wait for breakfast the next morning, which is the fourth day. Day 4, finding the pecking order. By the fourth day, you'll start noticing the unspoken hierarchy in the prison. It's like walking into a room where everyone already knows their place, and you're the only one left guessing. This ranking isn't based on age or size, but on a mix of reputation, connections, and how long someone's been inside. You'll see some inmates calling the shots while others keep a low profile. It's important that you figure out who's who, because respecting the wrong person could lead to trouble, and Dice is respecting the right one could be even worse in prison. Respect is everything. It's the currency that buys you peace, and sometimes even protection you might think you can earn. Respect through kindness, but here it's more about standing your ground without crossing the line. You want to maintain a delicate balance. You don't want to appear weak. At the same time, you don't want to appear like you're looking for a fight. A wrong move can cause you to be dragged into a fight that you didn't ask for, and definitely don't want. David Monroe, an inmate who participated in San Quentin's Last Mile program in 2015, has this to say: in prison, there are two ways to earn more respect. First, you can conform to prison politics and the gang mentality and earn respect by putting in work. Putting in work means fight stabbings, murders, etc. This type of respect is based in fear and comes with many pitfalls due to its deviant nature. Despite the negativity, this type of respect does have longevity, although it is very tumultuous. On the other hand, you can earn respect through self-respect. And instead of putting in work to harm other people, you can put in work in the classroom or in self-help groups. Doing the right thing isn't always the popular choice, but it is a highly respectable one. Yes, even in prison, unlike the first course of respect, this one is more serene. Similarly, it also has longevity. He concluded by saying that the ultimate choice of earning respect lies with the individual. However, the simple statement, "I give up," might be your best bet and a good way to continue navigating a more positive path. Another inmate who also participated in the program with Monroe, Jerome Boone, shares a similar view. He admitted that everyone is not going to respect you. He then recounted how he tried to please everybody, only to end up getting into confrontations. He would later attribute the cause to his attempts to hang out with people he really didn't have any business hanging out with. They ended up disrespecting him. Afterward, he learned the way to gain respect, which is by surrounding himself with like-minded individuals and making sure that his actions are aligned with his outward appearance. As for Darnell Hill, earning respect in prison is a matter of consistency and self-discipline. According to him, inmates who display a consistent level of integrity educate themselves and others, as well as refuse to participate in gangs or any criminal activity, will be respected. When Brittany Griner entered Corrective Colony No. 2 in Movia, she met with Val, who once led a criminal organization pointing out people to be assassinated. While reputation made her dangerous in the outside world, it earned her respect in prison. Val, who was also the warden's right hand, greeted Griner warmly, but Griner knew she was the perfect example of trouble. Griner would later advise new inmates to stay away from inmates in the boss's pocket. That being said, the next experience you might likely have is that to join a gang, some inmates may approach you subtly while others could be more direct. They'll talk about protection, loyalty, and strength in numbers. It's tempting to think about the safety a gang could offer, but it's not a decision to take lightly. By joining a gang, you're simply aligning yourself with everything the gang does, whether good or bad. In this case, staying neutral might be the safest option, but that also comes with risks. Some might see you as an easy target, while others might pressure you even more to take sides. Every interaction you have at this stage feels like a test. You don't want to trust someone too quickly, as it can backfire. At the same time, you don't also want to stay too distant, so you don't get isolated. You're now left with a tricky game of reading people and situations. Every decision you make during this time will shape your experience for the rest of your time inside. I'll simply recommend that you stay aware, trust your instincts, and remember that every word you say and action you take has consequences. How you choose to live within those walls sets the tone for what you'll face on day 5. Day 5, routine or rebellion. On day 5, you might find yourself tempted to test the waters by breaking small rules. Maybe it's sneaking an extra item from the cafeteria or staying up past lights out. It's natural to want to see how far you can push the limits, especially when you're still trying to find your place. Some inmates might do this to gain a sense of control or to boost their status among others. But remember, every action has consequences. Prison guards are always watching, and any small infractions you cause can lead to bigger problems for you. Let's say you decide to take that risk. What happens next? You might get caught and face consequences that are anything but minor. In prison, even breaking a small rule can lead to harsh punishments. A common repercussion is solitary confinement, where you're isolated from everyone else, left alone with nothing but your thoughts. Another possibility is losing privileges. No more recreational time, visits, or access to the commissary. The punishment is designed not just to discipline you, but to send a message to everyone else. The rules are not to be taken lightly. It's even possible that you witness or hear about others who didn't follow the rules. Maybe someone got caught with contraband, or another inmate mouthed off to a guard. Seeing the aftermath, like a fellow inmate being dragged to solitary or having their privileges revoked, can be a harsh wake-up call. These experiences further reinforce the message that rebellion, no matter how small, comes with steep costs. More than following rules, it's about survival in the end. Vernie Siddle, a former inmate, once said that one of the hardest but most necessary parts of prison life is learning to accept the rules. Complaining or resisting only makes your time harder. Instead, find ways to work within the system. It might feel like you're giving, but in reality, you're protecting yourself from unnecessary trouble. The sooner you learn to navigate the rules, both the official ones and the unwritten codes among inmates, the better your chances of making it through your sentence with as little additional hardship as possible. Oftentimes, breaking rules is a result of frustration. However, there is a better way to deal with frustration without resorting to rebellion. It's simply by developing coping strategies. As an inmate, there is one thing: you have time. You can either choose to occupy your time with worry or feeling angry. Also, you can choose to learn a new skill or develop an interest. Developing reading skills, for instance, helps you to acquire new knowledge such that you forget the worries of having to live through the walls of the prison. Some prisons even offer peer mentoring schemes, affording you an opportunity to become a listener or mentor. Some inmates turn to regular physical activity in the form of exercise as a coping strategy. They utilize their time toward building physical strength and endurance. Beyond Physical strength exercise also helps to develop good mental health. Even researchers have found that moderate exercise in a prison setting positively affects mental health and effectively minimizes the risk of depression. You should note that exercise doesn't have to be only sports related. It could be gardening or animal husbandry. Just think of anything that gets you moving around. For older inmates, you can find out if the prison offers a wellness program to help you manage weight, blood pressure, and any long-term health conditions. Then there are those who turn to religion, finding solace in prayer and spiritual practices. These activities not only keep your mind occupied, but also help you stay mentally strong in an environment designed to break you down. Understanding the thin line between routine. Navigating life behind bars is a relentless balancing act between routine and rebellion. While the rigid structure of prison life may seem suffocating, finding a sense of purpose within that structure can be the key to survival. Whether through education, exercise, spiritual growth, or developing skills, inmates can reclaim a sense of control over their lives. While rebellion may offer a fleeting sense of power, it comes with lasting consequences. True strength lies in adapting, learning, and rising above the harsh environment. In the end, survival isn't just about enduring the days. It's about using each moment as a step toward personal transformation.